When I was a child, cartoons like Batman the Animated Series ushered in a new era of programming that walked a fine line of appealing to adults and children alike. Artistically, it was unlike anything I had ever seen. Gone were the bright colors and soft characters, and in its place were sharp, angular figures in dark, gothic environments. I was hooked on the show, and the subsequent animated shows in that universe, but oddly enough, I don't really collect many Batman figures. Part of the reason is that they release about 1,000 variations of Batman a year. Every company seems to have his license, and I simply can't keep up with all of that. Unfortunately, that means I've missed out on a lot of quality releases over the years, but I'm glad I stumbled onto this one. This is Batman the Animated Series Opening Sequence ArtFX Statue by Kotobukiya, and that is a bit of a mouthful, but as the name implies, this is based on the opening intro to Batman the Animated Series, and in particular that last scene which features Batman standing on a rooftop looking out into the night sky trying to pretend that a bolt of lightning didn't scare the crap out of him. But seriously, if Batman likes to pretend he's a stoic individual, let's be real, he would have fell off that roof the moment that lightning struck. All jokes aside, as you can see, the box does a pretty good job of matching the animated series' ominous aesthetics, complete with the gothic red and black sky that seemed to overlook Gotham throughout the series' run. And though I understand the decision to show the entire character on the front, this might be one of the few boxes where the back of the box does a better job of marketing the statue than the front. It's just a better composition overall, and it really stands out better than the front. While I was expecting this statue to come in several pieces, I was pleasantly surprised it only came in three. The base, which has Gotham skyline and bat signal attached, along with the holes to peg in the lightning, and Batman himself. One thing to note when handling Batman, his cape is extremely sharp and pointy. You could easily injure yourself if you pick this up the wrong way, so be careful when dealing with him. Batman pegs into the base pretty easily, but you'll need to bend the lightning effect just a little bit to fit into the base, and thankfully it's a softer plastic, so this becomes a relatively easy task. It probably goes without saying, but this is an impressive statue. When I initially saw the promotional materials on this piece, it was surrounded by the usual array of photography and professional lighting that companies use to cover up or enhance their product. And that kind of marketing works, otherwise companies wouldn't use it. But I'm happy to say that this looks great on its own. And I have to commend the concept and execution of this piece. Because if you had told me that we need to create something to recreate that iconic scene, I would have visualized a statue that's far more complex. And that's not to say that the solution presented here is lacking. If anything, it's brilliant in its simplicity, as it puts all of the attention where it belongs, on Batman. He doesn't get lost in his surroundings, but they're still displayed in a way that complements his pose. Everything that was memorable about the look of the animated series is captured beautifully here. The stylized sculpt, sharp angles, and subtle blue highlights in his costume are all well represented. You could argue that perhaps it could have benefited from more areas of extreme highlight and shadow, given that this is the exact moment when the lightning strikes. But I still think it mimics the source material very well. The paint apps are clean throughout, like the bat symbol, which is sculpted onto his suit, and the sharp solid colors in his clothing overlapping the subtle gradients and shading in his bodysuit really accentuate his muscular frame. Despite the hard plastic, the cape looks effortlessly dynamic as it reacts to the blowing wind as he stands on the rooftop. Speaking of the rooftops, they act as a base and backdrop for this statue. The buildings in the background sit at a bit of a forced perspective and are stylized just like the animated series. The bat signal is also shown, and while I love its inclusion, I wish they would have taken the opportunity to give it a light up feature. Given the price point of this statue, I think it would have been a justifiable addition. Of course, you could probably backlight this statue if you have a good amount of space and the right angle, because that will not only come in handy for the bat signal, but also the lightning, which is translucent, which means in the proper lighting, you're going to get some awesome photos as the light shines through the lightning strike. It's a shame that Kotobukiya hasn't released much else in this line outside of Joker and Harley, and of course this Batman figure. This line is begging for more of Batman's allies and villains, but unfortunately I haven't really heard any news of any new releases. So for now, this is all we have. But I am grateful that I stumbled across this Batman statue. Even though I'm late to the party, I absolutely love this statue. And there's statues that stand out on your shelf, and then there are statues that really stand out on your shelf. And this is one of them. At roughly 8¼ inches, it may not have the size to be the centerpiece of your Batman display, but it certainly doesn't take a backseat to anything either. So I'm going to give this statue a 9 out of 10. Thanks for sticking around to the end of the review. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please like, leave a comment, and subscribe. And I'll catch you in the next video.